All right, folks, let's go ahead and jump into a return. First thing we'll need to do is start a return. We can either use the Add New button up here, or we can use the Add button right here in our Select a Return view. So I'm going to go ahead and click Add, and I'm going to put in a Social Security number to start our return with. You will need to enter your social in twice whenever creating a return, just for verification. I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and it's going to dump me into our return. Now, you may notice the red color. This is the Get the Red Out color scheme. It's going to start us in the date of birth. I'm going to go ahead and enter in a date of birth for this taxpayer. We'll go ahead and enter in their name and other information real quick. And now we'll go ahead and put in a phone number for them. I'm going to go ahead and put in a cell number as well. And we'll go ahead and click the text messaging box here, and we'll select a cell phone carrier for them. You'll notice, but first I was prompted to let the taxpayer know that they are going to receive some marketing from me. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, that I've read those terms and conditions out to the taxpayer, and I'm going to select their cell phone carrier. I use Xfinity. I'm going to go ahead and select that. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and fill out the driver's license information for this taxpayer. So I'm going to go ahead and just put in some fake driver's license information. I'm going to go ahead and put it in for my state of Georgia. We'll say it was issued a while back, and it's still got a little while before it expires. All right, I'm going to go ahead and select a filing status for this taxpayer. And if you'll notice, I know what to put right here. I'm just going ahead and put in the number 1. And that's because down here I've noticed I have a legend. So for single, I would use the number 1, married filing joint 2, so on and so forth. This will pop up a lot of places in the software, guys. So if you're in a section somewhere and you're not sure what to put, it's just otherwise a box, take a look down here. You will generally find that there's some explanation for what goes in that field. All right, since I picked that this is a single taxpayer, though, we'll go ahead and skip past the spouse information. We'll come to the address information, and we will take care to notice that the first line is care of. We don't need to put anything generally on that first line. I'm going to go ahead and put in a nice address for this taxpayer, and we will be on our way. And you'll notice it gave me some information here. Because I put in a city that was known to my system, I can now pick the zip code in the state. This will only appear if you've entered in that city information before, guys. So as you enter in information, your software is going to be doing its job to collect that information for you and make life easier where it can. Now I'm going to go ahead and put in some bank information. And just like in the previous area, I already had some information populate here, and that's because I've previously put some of this information in, guys. So if it wasn't a bank I had entered in before, if this was brand new to me, I'd just simply enter it in right here. I would go ahead and put that information in here and put the routing number in for that bank. But otherwise, if it's a bank you know that you've put on another return, local bank, this or that, it'll be in your choices menu right down here. So just like we were talking about some of those tips being on this bar, there are also some other line or some other menu items that you can select from. So I'll go ahead and grab this bank out of my choices menu. We will put my taxpayer's account number in. I'll then be asked to do a double blind validation. So it'll remove that account number. I can't see it anymore. And it's going to want me to put it back in to confirm it. So you have to get that right for it to enter that in. Otherwise, it'll send you back and there won't be any information, and then you'll have to try again. I'll go ahead and click that this is a checking account. We'll move on along our way. If I had some dependents, which we'll go ahead and put a dependent in for this taxpayer, I could enter them here. So let's go ahead and we'll put John Jr. on here. And we'll give him a birthday within the last 18 years, so he'll qualify for a few things. Let's see. And we'll go ahead and give him a social that looks relatively valid. So the system will then calculate all the stuff we need. So now that he's been my son, he's been in the home for 12 months. And you can notice I'm getting those tooltips again down there at the bottom. The system put some stuff in for me. Let's take a look at what that stuff is. So this is a dependent that lived with a taxpayer. He is eligible for EIC as well as CTC, or the Child Tax Credit. We see that C means eligible for the CTC credit. So at a glance, this is just real quick information for you guys. If I had dependent care, if I needed to enter in some dependent care, they went to a daycare, I had some qualified expenses, receipts and things from a daycare with accredited numbers, I could put that X in there and that would load the forms I need later on the return. I'm just going to remove that for the sake of brevity, guys. Real quick, I skipped over this, and I don't need to. Let's go back to it. Checks the box only if you or another family member purchase health insurance through the marketplace in 2020. That's pretty common. So you could click that button, and it will otherwise load the forms you need, or you could go through the questionnaire by just clicking that button as I did, and we could then fill out any of these applicable forms. But again, for the sake of brevity, guys, we're going to go ahead and glance over that. These are all straightforward questions that you'll be able to ask your taxpayer, or things you will be able to fill out directly from their 1095-A. So very important correlation there, guys. If you have somebody who's using marketplace insurance, make sure they got that 1095-A so you can accurately file their return. There also may be 1095-Bs, Cs, and different forms that go into those coverages. Just make sure you have those available. All right. Lastly, here on our client data screen, let's talk about Protection Plus. So this is an ancillary product that you can offer to your clients. This is not something you have to offer, but rather something you can offer in addition to. We have some other videos that cover how to charge and get an add-on fee charged and collected for your business for those products if you choose to offer them. I'm going to decline the Protection Plus for this return. Does the taxpayer consent to receive and sign their document remotely? We're going to go ahead and click yes here for both of these. So what this means is if this customer came in through my mobile application or otherwise sent me their return remotely or is going to sign their return remotely, maybe they brought it in to me, and now I've prepared it and I want to submit it to the IRS for them, but they're not available to sign their return. They're not there in person. They can't be there. I can then submit it to them to sign that document remotely. So let's go ahead now and take a look at some other parts of the return. So if we had any documents, that's to say they had brought a W-2 and other things like that, and we had one of our approved Motorola document scanners. And again, if you have any questions about those, we'll be more than happy to put you in contact, or rather point you in the direction of how to get those and acquire those for your business. Just contact support. But if those had already been acquired and integrated, we could then scan in our documents, guys. So I could digitize anything they bring with them, their IDs, handwritten receipts from their business, you name it, we will digitize it and attach it to that return. Furthermore, if I had any of the IRS approved documents that are barcoded, I could have scanned them to start this return. And really, for simple, straightforward, single taxpayers, the return's done, guys. You can pretty much scan barcoded forms in, and this is where they would live if you had done that. And generally, that's a W-2 or some kind of income information that's going to be barcoded. But that would allow you to fill out pretty much this entire return. So that's our document archive, guys, and that's where those things will live. If a customer had submitted you a return on the mobile app and it attached some documents that you need to review, this is also where they would live. So you could come back out here and take a look at those. If you don't have the scanner, but you have some of those documents already digitized, you could then attach them directly. So you could browse through your file system here, and you would then be able to attach those directly to the return here. Now that won't go to the IRS, but it'll stay sort of in a digital file, if you will, locked away here in your archive on your software. All right, so just kind of going forward through the menu here, we're going to go ahead and let's talk about how to add forms into your return. So I'm going to go ahead and click the Add a Form button. And this would then allow me to select any forms I needed to add to my return. But before I do that, guys, let's just touch real quick on our questionnaire and our interview mode. So our questionnaire is, and mine is already in Spanish. That is just to illustrate solely that we do have them available in Spanish, guys. They're not by default in Spanish, but all of these forms and these questionnaires are available to you in Spanish. We can show you how to change between those, but the language is English by default. This could be printed out though, or this could be answered with the customer in front of you to otherwise provide you with any of the information you might need to prepare that return. Furthermore, we also have an interview mode, and this is a little bit more simple. If you have someone who's brand new to tax preparation or otherwise needs a little bit more help, getting those returns filed. This is very straightforward for you to be able to select, whatever has gone on in their life. If they had a W-2 job, if they had some interest, if they're going to be a Schedule C, they self-employed, things like that. If they had tuition, maybe they bought a home. Very straightforward though, and would allow you to preload all of the forms that you may need to start that return. So we're going to go ahead and exit out of the interview mode now. Bear with me just one moment while we get there. We've spoken about training in some other videos, and I will take this moment right here to show you at any point if you need to move a return over to your training side, not rather move, but just copy that return, you can use this button right here to then move a copy of that return over to the training side of the software. Really useful, guys. Really, really useful. Now we'll go ahead and switch back to the forms view, and just bear with me one more moment. And that's a key that is going to be Control F. All right, just going to click onto the forms. All right, so now let's go ahead and just use the forms view to add a W-2 and some Schedule C information and take a look at what that looks like to prepare a return. So again, I'm going to go back to add a form and I'm going to just drop a W-2 into this return. I'm going to use my choices menu to go ahead and grab an employer. Again, if this was a new employer, someone new to your software, you could just enter in that information. We'll go ahead and put some wages and a little bit of federal tax withheld. And now, if we take a look and it looks like this is pretty much filled out, we are going to go ahead and now add a Schedule C for our taxpayer. So let's go ahead and they had a little bit of business activity as well. They drove Uber, or no, they did DoorDash. Um, So we'll go ahead then and select the business code, and please do your due diligence in making sure you pick the right business code. I'm just going to grab one. Um, this customer didn't have an employer ID. They didn't have a business name. They were just a sole proprietorship, and they had the business out of their home. All right. So for this business, they actually got a 1099. So we'll go ahead and add that 1099 income. So they made 5 grand with DoorDash. And now we'll go ahead and we're going to link this to our Schedule C we created. So now that income will show up on our Schedule C. And any expenses they may have had, or anything else that needs to otherwise be reported, we would be able to then come back and enter that. So let's go ahead. Let's make sure that we link our other income to our Schedule C. All right. And now we'll come back here, and as we see, and then if you had any, maybe I had some expenses for my vehicle, and in conjunction with that, maybe I needed to rent something, or I otherwise had some different expenses. Maybe I'm actually going to use the expense worksheet and calculate those full expenses here based off my vehicle, and I want to add that vehicle as an asset, which is more than something you can do. And we'll be happy to walk you through that if you need to do such. Just give us a call here. It's important to ask. But otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and put in that we had $2,500 worth of different expenses for that vehicle, and we're going to leave it at that for this example. All right. So going forward, let's go ahead and take a look at our EIC worksheets. So this is our EIC credit worksheet, and this basically lets us know that we do meet the requirements to get EIC for this tax or for this dependent. This would be our self-employment worksheet. There's not much required of us here. Again, this is the miscellaneous, the 1099 miscellaneous. Now, this is going to be our child tax credit worksheet. This is going to be automatically completed as well. Now, as we get to our EIC checklist, though, we've got a little bit of work right here. So we need to take a look, and you'll notice we've got some questions that need to be answered. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my diligence questions here, but these are questions that you absolutely need to make sure you ask your client and mark appropriately. And these are going to be some more of those due diligence questions. I'm just going to go ahead and mark these appropriately as required for the return to process. But again, these are questions you will ask to each taxpayer individually, one-on-one, every time you fill out a form for anybody. So these aren't something that you would just go through and mark. But for this example, we are doing just that. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look now at our 8879 since we completed our previous form. This is going to be the form where we select how the taxpayer wishes to get paid. So for this return, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select one of my EFINs that we have approved to do some bank products. So that's going to be this EFIN right here, and we're going to go ahead and just pop him in right there. And I'm going to mark this return as a bank product return. So the only things you as a customer would have needed to have done was to have already submitted your bank contract with us and had the bank approve you, and then just use your default EFIN right here. So you would make sure your EFIN shows up right here, and then just mark it as a refund type of 5. Now let's take a look at the rest of the 8879 here. I'm going to go ahead and enter my ERO PIN in to sign this return. And for the most part, that's going to be it for me here. So we'll go ahead and we'll refresh our return. And since we've indicated that we wanted to have a bank application on this return, our bank app is now loaded up into the software. So this bank application is for TPG. If you're using a different bank, you could expect it to be displayed a little bit differently. So there are going to be quite a few questions here for us. At this point in the return, what we should do is go ahead and take a look at the verification. And we still have quite a few things that we need to take care of. So let's go ahead and take a look at what some of this required information is. So I'll notice that in my client data, I'm missing what kind of identification I used. So let's go ahead and indicate that that was a driver's license. I'll now go ahead and take a look at the next error in my return. And I did not fill out any of the economic impact payments. So what we need to do is we would ask our taxpayer if they had gotten the recovery rebates, how much they had gotten, and then be able to fill out this worksheet. We're going to go ahead and indicate that the full payment was recovered. So we're just going to mark an X right there. If it hadn't been, we could fill out how much was received and everything else, and the software would then calculate how much to recover for that taxpayer. All right, we'll now move to our Schedule C. So it looks like we need to indicate whether this was a qualified trade business or otherwise not eligible for deduction. We're going to go ahead and say that this was a qualified trade or business. We will then, I'm going to check out and see what else we need to fix. So since we indicated that there was a vehicle, we need to indicate when it was actually placed in service. So we're going to go ahead and indicate that that was in January, I'm going to say January 1st of 2020. And I can tell that that's the format it wants by looking right here. All right, and again, that was right here in the notes section where you can find tips about the field you're in. So we'll go ahead and go to the next verification. And we have to actually pick an accounting method. So we'll go ahead and pick that this was a cash business. We'll then click verify, and now we're only left with pretty much our 8879 and bank application. So we'll go ahead and let's take care of this one last little error we have on our 1099 miscellaneous. And since I had selected the wrong place to link to the Schedule C earlier, we'll need to remove that now. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we can fill out on the 8879, and it's asking for our taxpayer's PIN to sign the return. So you'll need to do taxpayer's PIN or AGI. We're just going to go ahead and enter in the taxpayer's PIN, and it will go ahead and fill out the rest of the information that's needed there for us. All right, now that our 8879 is done, let's take a look at the last few things we can take care of on the bank app before we print out documents for our taxpayer to sign. So here it's wanting our taxpayer's identification. We'll just go ahead and transfer this from the client data screen. So anytime you see CDS, that means client data screen, and that's just going to be a time saver there, as well as something to ensure accuracy. So we'll verify one more time, and we're almost there, guys. Let's go ahead and take a look at what else it's looking for. We need to indicate whether we are going to prepare another RT for this client, so another refund transfer. And generally, if you're already preparing the state, this is asking if you're going to, or if you're already preparing the federal, this is asking if you're going to prepare the state. I'm just going to go ahead and indicate no, since we're not attaching a state to the specific return. All right. So it says my application date is not valid, and that is to be expected, guys, because we're a little bit later in the year right now doing this training. So we have another required field that is missing, taxpayer citizenship. So this is something we'll need to indicate that they are an actual citizen. And then we'll verify one last time to indicate that we have verified their ID. So we took a look at their physical ID, and that matched what we put in the system. If we were going to apply for their other products, you would indicate that here on the bottom of the bank app. It's very important if you're doing their pre-ac or fast cash advances or any of the other ancillary products from any of the other banks. Please make sure you indicate that there on your bank app. The last step here would now be to print this return. So we need to go to print, and we will have to get past that error. Bear with me just one moment, guys, while I do a little bit of magic here. All right. And we're going to go ahead and create print. And instead of actually printing this out, I'm going to go ahead and use our PDF feature. So I just click PDF, and it will automatically generate a copy of a PDF. If I wanted to, I could also use our remote sign feature here, guys. I could click remote sign. And that would then give me the ability to send that document to them and have that signature be captured remotely. So as long as there's a valid email address and things like that on there, we would be able to use that button and get that document signed remotely. All right, so now that I have printed this to a PDF, we can go ahead and indicate that the signature has been uh, has been taken care of for the bank, as well as the signature for the 8879. So we'll go ahead and indicate that the 8879 has been signed right there. We'll verify this return one last time, and we'll notice return has been verified successfully, guys. We are done. So that is it in a nutshell for your return preparation here, walking through a Schedule C. Let's go ahead now and take a look at if we had a state to attach, we could then come over here and we could add the Georgia return. Um, if there's anything we need to fill out on there, very quick verification will quickly show we just have one field, and we just need to indicate how we wanted to get our refund. So I'm going to just go ahead and get a check from the state right there, and that should take care of our Georgia refund. Actually, no, we need to pay the state in this one. So we'll go ahead and mark this a 4 for balance due, guys. I always wind up owing the state. That's my state right there too. Gotta love it. All right, so we'll verify now, and we are again verified successfully, guys. So we've now got a state added. We've got all of our stuff for our federal good and ready to go. Um, Now let's go ahead and take a look at our invoice and billing just real quick. So we have covered previously in returns how to come out here to your billing and set everything up. Let's take a look at what that actually looks like inside of a return. So for my returns, I charge a flat rate. So you'll notice that right here. It is a flat rate of $150 to start the return, and then I have itemized charges for my W-2s for $50 on this return. So I'm only itemizing for those. I don't have 1099s. I don't have the bank application 8879s. I don't have all the forms itemized. I don't charge like that. You can. And if you have any questions about that or how to set that up, feel free to review our other videos, or please give us a call in here at support, and we'll be more than happy to help you bill exactly how you want to for your business. One of the most important aspects of what we do, guys. But otherwise, this is my remote signature charge. So since we got this signed remotely, we were going to do the remote signature. I now have that charge to recuperate the expense associated with it. I have the breakdown in fees for the transmitter and for the bank products. And I also have my information up here at the top. So super easy, super straightforward. Let's go ahead though and cover now how to queue and submit this return. So if we were going to go to the IRS, I would click queue. I would then go ahead and click this queue button right down here. So let's just cover that again. Once you've verified a return successfully, you can hit Control T from this screen to get to the queue window. You can alternatively press the queue button right here. Now, we want to make sure that everything is checked, and we then click the queue button right here on the bottom right. Stay away from this button, guys, unless we ask you to. That's not something you want to check for your returns just at your discretion. It's something you want for us to have asked you to do for a return that's having an issue or something we need to look at. Again, now we're just going to go ahead and click queue to queue this return up to go to the IRS. I'm not actually going to submit it, but let's look at what it would look like if I did. We're going to go ahead and go back to our work in progress by clicking this button up at the top. I'm going to go to transmit, which was right here on our work in progress screen. And I am going to use the filter button just to briefly look and see what's in my out queue, guys. This is a very healthy habit to get into, using this filter button right here and being able to take a look at what's actually headed out the door. So we see John Taxi is headed out the door with the Social Security number I was looking for. Now, if this was a live return and I wanted it to go to the IRS, which I don't, I would then click this transmit button right here. We'll go ahead and click it just for you guys' edification, and you can see I'm receiving my updates, my returns transferred, and otherwise I'm receiving a lot of data from Central Site. So not only do you transmit returns here, guys, but this is how you would receive updates. So it's okay to transmit even if you don't have anything going out. That's how you receive software updates from us.